No, what's funny about it is that those same boundaries that we set on other people, we won't set for ourselves within their life, right? So, as an example, if I have a cousin that talks loud all the time, I would tell them, well, hey, when you're around me, you have to temper your emotions, your attitude. You got to be more uh, calm and cool when you're around me because I'm seeing their life as chaotic, right? That's just my own, opinion of it, right? But there's never a time where I say, well, this is the way that their life is. So whenever I'm around them, I'm going to be more, in my mind, again, chaotic, more aggressive, more loud, when that's what they might want as well. They might be like, "You too quiet when you're around me. You too simple." Like people think that you're to yourself or you're bougie or you don't want to be like you're antisocial. Like you need to be more social. But again, from my standpoint, only thing we're thinking about is, well, when you're around me or in my world, this is how you need to be. But we don't think about stepping into our world and how that might appear or might come off either. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, I will say we will do something for them, but it's still under our own ego.
Oh,
So like somebody be like, I did this for you, I sacrificed, I did this all for you, and you're like, I didn't ask you to do that. You know what I mean? Like it's something again in your own mind. You define how the relationship is supposed to be without even running it by them to see if they're cool with it. And you just you may change your own behaviors even though you don't want to, but you think that's what it means to be in that type of whatever relationship you deem that relationship to be. And and again, like that, like they say the root of most problems are communication is because yeah, you're not in one accord of what the nature of the relationship is. Or better yet, just don't define it. Just be.
yeah, nah, I 100% agree. It's crazy, man. And the what's even about it is, even from a relationship standpoint to your own self goals and productivity, it's the exact same thing because you're a lot of the things that we do are still tied to other people, but we don't see that. We like to exclude everybody from our plans as if we don't have to interact with anybody in order to make things work. Go ahead, Jay.
Man, you put something on my mind because that's true. I will just go forward with stuff. I won't tell nobody. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but at the same time, if we are interacting with people on a regular basis and we have a vested interest in each other's future, like plans should be shared. Um, and yeah, and that's a boundary too. That I'm glad you pointed that out. Are you there? Did you freeze on me? We might have lost Troy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You had cut out for a second, and I know it's probably me too because I'm all out in the middle of anywhere. But again, even our reaction right now, you know what I mean? Being in circumstances, situations, you're always trying to be in a control that you don't have to be in a control of, and sometimes you have to just be able to just continue to move and 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 be agreeable. That's the best word that I can think of to how the interaction is supposed to go. Because again, the problem with that boundary is now because it's not meeting what we thought. Now there's some type of struggle or some type of fight that has to ensue. Like because you're not agreeable to how it looks right now, I have to fight you. Now I'm setting another stage or another um you know standard in a sense to say that because my situation or my boundaries or the way it looks is not being met, I have to fight you about it. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, today on the basketball court, the last play that caused us to lose the game, a teammate he kind of threw it away. It was like three open people. He went in and passed it to a guy, and but the guy wasn't there. And usually that like that guy he'll get on people for not doing stuff. So after the game, I just went to him privately. I was like, man, there's three people open. He was like, oh, when I threw it away, I was like, he's like, yeah. He was like, man, he was like the guy. I thought he was gonna cut and be right there, and I was like, I don't know if you realize, but I think you have a basketball mind that is more elevated than most of the people that you usually play with. And he kind of laughed, but I was dead serious. And his expectations are a lot different, and it causes him to sometimes fight his teammates because he sees the game on a level that everyone else might not see it because of his basketball mind and his training and things. And so other people are like, man, I'm wide open. We at the spots and you're not looking for us. He's looking to make the elevated play, which is probably the right thing to do. But it just shows how that miscommunication can be there, and to what you said, causes a fight.
Look, my 5-year-old, shouts out to Brody. He's crafting his world as we speak. He doesn't know what his boundaries, his limitations, or how his boundaries are supposed to be tied into other people's as well, right? So what he always asks me is when he does something, he'll look at me and say, Daddy, are you mad at me? Now, this is something that I could potentially be mad at, but I'm not wanting him to think that I'm mad at him because of something that he's choosing to do for himself, even though I don't agree to it, right? And so a lot of times I'm like, no, I'm not mad. I just wish that you would do something different, right? But he asks me all the time, and that, to me is it shows, number one, how these boundaries start to be created, right? Because now if I'm upset, now he's going to say that, all right, if these people do these things around me, then I'm supposed to be mad at them, or I'm supposed to react a certain way. And again, for me, it's always a learning process anyway, because sometimes I am mad. I just don't want him to recognize me being mad, because I don't want him to be like me. I want him to be able to overcome that, especially if it's something that he's willing to talk to me about. And that shows that there's communication that's trying to be made. And that's just a prime example for us as adults that, even if we don't feel like we're operating within boundaries, or somebody's not operating within our boundaries, the conversation, if you're willing to have that, can change the whole dynamic of the relationship. And for me and Brody, I always tell him every single time, no, I'm not mad, man. And he be like, well, what's wrong? Well, I'm just trying to deal with what I'm experiencing right now because it's new to me. And I don't expect you to do that, but I'm not upset with you. Go ahead, Jay.
Man, two things came to mind. That is a Jedi mind trick. To ask somebody, "Are you mad at me?" Because one, nobody wants to be mad. So like, if they don't intend to be mad, they'll check themselves. But if you're trolling them, they're really gonna get mad if you ask them, "Are you mad at me?" Like it's like the perfect thing to say. So yeah, kudos.
But
That's Brody or TJ that say that.
That's Brody. That's Brody,
Okay.
The 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And again, it is a check. It is a check, because the reality of it is, you don't want to be mad. You don't want to have these boundaries set up. You don't want to set unrealistic expectations. But not only for other people, it's a check for yourself, because it makes you look at the boundaries that you have set. It makes you look at the way that you're looking at life, and looking at how, I don't want to say serious, but how much weight you're giving things that shouldn't really have weight that they're giving. Now, again, that doesn't mean you can't have it for yourself, but also with this interaction with other people that we're talking about, which again creates all these other limitations for you yourself. And it is a Jedi mind trick. And I appreciate him. I appreciate my kids every day, because they teach me more than everybody, especially when I am able to look outside of myself. But maybe that is something that you should be able to ask yourself, or with any limitation or with anything you go through. Am I really mad, or is this really a boundary for mine? Do I really want this to hold me back? Do I really think this should be something that I should say only if this happens? Go ahead, Jay.